That's what I would tell him.
Started. I'm gonna call that. Let you turn your speakers on.
I can hear you, John. We can't hear her yet because she's still muted on a call, but I can hear you.
Tanya, I love your comment about you put the real in realtor. I wish I would have came up with that. That was brilliant. I love it.
You can always borrow my stuff on a different day if you want to, Ernest. You go right ahead.
Morning.
Borrow means I would owe you.
How's everybody?
Morning.
It's nicer to say than steal.
Okay. Has anybody so far looked at the new contract on TREC? Oh, nice. Good. That's why we're doing this.
No, I've just seen what you've presented.
I'm going to open it up and we're going to look at it together and look at the changes. I'm actually going to give you guys the link for it also. Here's what I want you guys to do. I want y'all to open up this link in TREC. So go ahead and sign in to TREC. Or I don't think that maybe you don't have to sign in. You just go to trec.tx.gov, I think, or is it trec.
Trec.texas.gov.
Trec.texas.gov, and you spell out the word Texas.
I was gonna say, you just type in TREC and it'll take you straight to the Google search.
Actually, I'm going to put in the chat this exact link so that you can go directly to it.
Which contractor you want us to see, Miss Lorrie?
We're going to look at these proposed changes. Really? I just did that. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah,
My laptop keeps telling me to turn up the volume.
no, I can hear you just fine.
Hey, Lorrie, can
Pump
you
up
hear
the
me?
volume. Pump up the volume. No,
Can you guys hear me?
it was
Anyone?
funny to me.
Yes.
Bueller?
Gosh, y'all are all muted.
Yeah, I
I'm
can.
talking to myself.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen now.
Oh, no.
I want you guys to go to that that link, because when we after we look at this, I want you guys to go leave your comments. I want you guys to see how this goes. This is your contract. You're going to be the ones using this contract. You should leave a comment on it. Okay. So the recommended proposals, everybody see my screen? The recommended proposals are related directly to compensation language based on all of these new changes with NAR. So paragraph 12A, this is your paragraph that allows for the buyer to receive seller compensation. And currently, our contract does not include any language that allows for the title company to distribute any of that concession, seller concession, for buyer's agent compensation. So the Texas Real Estate Commission Broker Lawyer Committee did all this work and they've come in with some recommendations. And now TREC is waiting on public response for 30 days. I believe it ends October I want to say it's like the 6th. So coming up pretty quick. Public comment period will end. But they're adding some verbiage in there so that title companies can use those funds for buyer agent commission. So it adds that each party pays their brokerage fees that they've agreed to pay. And then 12A1 is amended to allow for specific seller contribution to the buyer broker fees. So you know that piece that outlines this is what the seller pays, this is what the buyer pays. They've included their own brokerage, each of their own brokerage fees in that paragraph also. We're going to take a look at all that. 12A1C's been added to separately address other seller contributions, and the prior language that specified the order in which it was to be paid. So all of that, some of that's still staying the same. So let's go pull up. Paragraph 4 was also amended to include geothermal. Oh, cool. Good deal. Here's the red line draft. We're going to look at it. There's some recommendations for the third-party finance addendum. I don't think those had much to do with the changes, but we'll go look at it. Oh yeah, natural resources are now including geothermal. Okay. Good deal.
Okay, I have a question.
They've got this one dated for November the 4th, so hopefully we'll actually see this go through on November 4th.
Okay,
That's their next meeting if you wanted to go in and look. If you actually go to the Texas Real Estate Commission in person, you can sign in and get, I think it's 4 hours of CE credit for being there. So, then you can be there whenever they hopefully adopt this. Okay.
okay, I got a question.
Let's see, they've reworded some stuff on the survey. If the seller fails to furnish within the time prescribed, the existing survey and the affidavit, that's the T47 that we use, the buyer can obtain it at the seller's expense 3 days prior to closing. If the seller fails to, okay? If the title company or buyer's lender doesn't accept the existing survey, the buyer will obtain, and it's got they just reworded that part of it.
Okay, I have a quick
Says
question.
basically the same thing, just reworded. Let's see, this one has changed. If the buyer fails to obtain the survey, the buyer may not terminate the contract under paragraph 2B of the third-party finance addendum because the survey was not obtained. Okay, just taking away their ability to terminate based on that, which would have been a little bit sketch anyway, right? Okay. I will. An addendum containing promulgated notice.
Yeah, check.
Do what?
I'm having agents call me saying you're not able to hear.
Oh,
them.
look, I'm muted.
Are you muted?
No,
Your
my
sound.
sound was muted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can someone try to talk?
Yeah,
We can hear you.
I was trying to ask a question and
You were just ignoring everyone.
Did not mean to be ignoring you guys. I'm just chatting along thinking, good God, these people are quiet today. Okay.
so
Oh,
wait,
who was first?
assuming you can hear me right now,
I can.
the geothermal thing, does that fall under the some houses you can put like under the flooring, you can put a system a water system that can heat the floor?
That can do what?
It can heat the flooring.
No, I don't think that would be geothermal.
Okay, all right, okay, that's all I wanted to ask.
John, you had something?
I was raising my hand for Caesar.
Oh. Got it. Okay.
Kept ignoring him.
Whoa, you guys are echoing.
That's hilarious.
Okay. You could sit next to each other and pretend you love each other and use one, but whatever.
Where's the fun in that?
Another funny.
Apparently. Apparently. Heather, you look amazing today. I don't know what you've done different, but there you have it.
It's funny. I hate wearing my hair up, and John, every time I wear my hair up, he's like, "Oh my God, you look so good today!" Like he loves it, and I get
Wow.
compliments, but I hate it. It's like I don't know, sports thing.
And like her.
Yeah.
My beautician actually was telling me if I wear my hair up, it makes me look younger. That's what she was telling me, rather than down. I don't know. That's what she said.
Yes, it does. I'm a hairdresser and it definitely does.
And there's Alejandra to put in. Thank you, Alejandra. I don't like wearing my hair up either, so I'm with you. But you do look amazing today.
I always like it, Lori, when you put your hair up in that deal with the clip.
Yes, you commented on that several times. Yeah, yeah, it's true. Anyway, okay, so let's look at the rest of these now that I can hear people. Thank you, Mackenzie, for handling that for us. They've taken out the requirement for the addendum to be attached to this contract for PID. Interesting. And we didn't have an addendum for propane gas service systems, so it stands to reason they would take that out. Certification of mold remediation. If the property has been remediated from mold, the seller must provide to the buyer the certification of mold remediation. Oh, we need to tell our sellers when they buy it, or our buyers when they buy a place, that if anything happens, they need to hang on to that piece of document, right? That's interesting information. Because I've got sellers that would throw that away, thinking they don't need it. Interesting. I hope that the mold remediating people are saying, hang on to this big and bold on their certificates. Okay, required notices, utility, water, drainage, and public improvement. So basically they're putting PID down here. So they've taken it out of up there. Okay. Seller's failure to provide applicable statutory notices may provide buyer with remedies or rights to terminate. Yeah, it does. According to the addendum, it does. Broker's fees are not set by law and are negotiable. There's the piece that NAR requires. So they've added that to paragraph 8, where we do the seller's agent's disclosures. If I'm an agent and I'm buying or selling a house, I have to put in here that I'm a Texas realtor, right? So, or if I own part of an LLC, I have to put in here that as an owner of the LLC, I own more than 10% of the LLC and I'm an agent. Even if I'm not the agent for the contract, if I am just a party to the contract, I still have to put that information in there. So they've added B. B did not used to be here. Oh yeah, it did. All obligations for payment of broker's fees are contained in separate written agreements. So basically this is saying that the contract is not good enough to be a written agreement for the buyer's agent's fees, right? Where it says at the bottom 3%, we always fill in that 3%. That page is not even supposed to be part of the contract. Dare you to go to court and not take it. They're going to ask for, where's page 9 of 10? Anyway, okay. That's a personal pet peeve. Broker's fees are not something else. They've added that piece in there. Nice. Paragraph 12A. Y'all know I'm doing this with you guys because I haven't done it yet myself either, right? Seller shall pay the following expenses instead of expenses paid by seller. Release of existing liens, including prepayment penalties and the recording fees. Release of seller's loan liability, tax statements and tax certificates, preparation of the deed, 1/2 of the escrow fee, and now they've added brokerage fees that seller has agreed to pay and other expenses payable by seller under this contract. B, the following amount will be applied to brokerage fees that buyer has agreed to pay. So here's where the seller is going to pay a portion of the buyer required fees. So this is typically the seller's concession, right? We use this quite often when we do a VA loan. So it can be a dollar amount or a percentage amount. That's nice. So they could full on put 3%, and that could be, the buyer could use it totally for.
Wait a minute. That's not how that's written.
It says 3%, an amount or 3% of the sales price.
But the way that it's written to me, even
The
though it's
following
under
amount to be applied to brokerage fees,
that
that
buyer
buyer-
has agreed to pay, even though it's
brokers fees
that
in the buyer
buyer.
rep agreement. This is the BAC.
I understand. What I'm saying is, even in this section, the way it's written, it implies that the buyer is going to pay these fees, not that the seller is going to pay them for the buyer.
Okay. The following amount to be applied to brokerage fees.
You see what I mean? I mean, I know it's in the right section. I get that it's in the section, and you're absolutely right. The section it's in, it's saying that the seller is going to pay them.
Okay, number 1 right here. Okay, let's clarify this. A1 says the seller shall pay the following
Right.
expenses. A, everything that has to do with their loan and the fees that they've agreed to pay. B, seller shall pay the following expenses. So it's 1B. So it
Okay.
is seller paid. Seller will pay the following expenses. B, the following amount to be applied.
Okay.
Good point.
And,
Thanks for clarifying that.
And
It's
let's,
just really funny to me when it says,
No.
even though it's in the seller's section, when you say brokerage fees that the buyer has agreed to pay,
Yeah.
even though we
This is
recognize it,
obligating, it's obligating the seller
Yeah.
right to pay that.
it's just weird the way it's written to me.
Yeah.
So Lori, that just reiterates the fact that the buyer, say, is signing a 3% agreement. So that's just covering their 3% by the seller.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And it's making it now part of the contract, Evan.
Okay.
So,
I have
this
heard
is where
chatter.
now
I've heard chatter 2406 might go away.
I've heard that too on other things, but this also doing it this way too, guys. This is when we call the listing agent and we say, how, are you going to be providing a compensation, blah, blah, blah. And the listing agent says, put it in the contract or, it's negotiable, that kind of thing. This is where it's now part of the contract. And we don't necessarily have to ask the listing agent anymore. We don't have to call up the listing agent and say, are you paying commission? We put it in the offer. And then they either are or they don't. And then we let our buyer decide at that point if they want to move forward.
I probably will still make the call, because if the seller is adamant that they're only going to pay a certain amount, I mean, I'm going to say, just like the price, is there any wiggle room? Is that negotiable? Will the seller consider a different amount? I'm still going to ask that question.
I just know in the last class I was in, she was specifically saying that there was listing agents that were kind of being a little snotty about it now.
There are.
Not really just do
Don't be
it,
that
just do it. So this
Yeah.
way, if they want to be snotty about it, cool. We've got to work around.
Yeah.
So if
Yep.
you've already received the 2402 disclosing that you're getting paid by the seller, this is not where you would include compensation, right? Because this would be like in addition to, like if I'm representing the seller and I receive an offer for say $350, the asking price is $350, but then I have $10,000 in this section, they need to understand that it's really like $240. And then they would also, so my question is, if you've already know they're willing to pay the buyer's agent, do you need to put that amount that it equates to
Here.
in
Yes.
here?
Yes.
Well, wait a minute. Not
Because if you don't, then it's not part of the contract.
Right, but I'm with Evan. If you're the listing agent and you've got it's a sidebar over there, the seller, the way you've presented it, Evan, was the seller has said to you, I'll pay X. So and you're the listing agent. So it's not your responsibility as the seller's agent to put this in there. It's the buyer's responsibility to put this in there.
Right.
Right? Yeah,
Right.
because as the seller's agent, he just said, hey, I'll pay up to X. So, okay, well, that's in my pocket and I'll keep it in my pocket. And then when I get this contract, I know looking at it, when I present it to my seller, hey, he's asking for more than X or he's asking for less than X. And you're fine. You don't put that in there. Is that correct, Lorrie?
Yes, absolutely. Just like if a refrigerator is going to convey or not convey, they might tell me that the refrigerator is going to convey, but if I don't put it in here that the refrigerator is conveying, my client might not get the refrigerator. I might be buying them one. Ouch.
So the following amount to be applied to. Okay.
And then they reworded the following expenses paid by the buyer and added brokerage fees the buyer has agreed to pay under that one, just like they did under the sellers. So brokerage fees
Lorrie,
did not used to be in this paragraph at all. Yes, I had heard another question.
So is the goal eventually just to have listing agreements and then this contract and get rid of the broker to broker and the 2401, 2402, 2406?
The broker to broker and the broker to owner will probably stay in place because those are separate agreements agreeing to the amounts that the broker is going to pay for the seller. This is when the seller is paying, not the broker.
Okay.
Because the buyer's agent commission can come from the listing agent or it can come from the seller. This is when it's coming from the seller.
Okay.
Does everybody have that part clear?
I mean, I
So
kind of do. So if you're being told that, so you would use 12AB if you were told by the seller's agent that they are not paying compensation. And so now you're trying to work it into where you get paid something from the seller and you would use this. However, let's say you already know that the listing agreement, the seller's telling you that they're paying 3% to you. Where do we make sure we're getting that covered? 2402?
the 2402 is the agreement between brokers to cover what the broker is saying that they're going to pay, which is why the 2406 may not go away. Let's see if they did anything at the bottom of this where it says the broker is going to pay the other broker.
That's what I was curious about.
Okay, so like if we take the listing.
Oh, look, they added the 1031 exchange addendum. Interesting.
So if we're the listing agent and if our seller has agreed to give us 6%, and then we know that our seller then is not going to be paying the buyer, we're going to be paying a buyer's agent. So
yes,
that's
so
then in that instance,
that does not go in paragraph 12 of the contract.
Perfect. That's what I was getting. So, but if the seller says, I'll give you 3%, maybe I'll give up to 3% to the buyer's agent. Let's see what they ask for. That's when we utilize this paragraph.
Correct.
And this is the contract. This is an offer contract. So the listing agent, or it wouldn't have anything to do with this. This would be the buyer's agent then asking for it directly from the seller because we've said.
Unless the seller comes in with some, a counter offer, then the listing agent is making counter offer.
Exactly. Okay, cool. Got it. Thank you.
Here's how they changed the other broker being paid by the listing broker. Pursuant to a previous separate agreement, this is your 2402. Pursuant to a previous separate agreement, the listing broker has agreed to pay the other broker a fee of, and then it's a dollar amount or a percentage of the sales price. This disclosure is for informational purposes and does not change the previous agreement between brokers to pay or share commission. So our previous agreement, from the broker standpoint, our previous agreement for compensation was held within the MLS. When we joined the MLS, we signed an agreement that we are going to cooperate and compensate other brokers. That compensation piece has been taken away from the MLS. It is only cooperate. Now we just cooperate with information about our listings, right? It's just a cooperation place. And our agreement has to happen in in something else. So that's where the 2402 broker to broker comes into place. So this is where you're going to fill out if the 5A on your listing agreement has been completed and your seller is saying, I'm going to pay 6% to my listing broker and 3 of that they are going to pay to the buyer's agent. That is where this gets put, that 3% right there. If your seller has filled out 5B and said, I'm only paying my listing broker, and I might consider doing a seller concession, that's where we're coming into 12, paragraph 12 of the contract, to fill in that amount. Everybody clear as mud? Do you like the way that they've done this, or do you have recommendations for TREC to change it?
I like it. I do think it's a little confusing, like Tanya said, as an agent reading that, and definitely to a buyer or seller. So I think it would have to be explained very well and very well understood from the agent first. And maybe it's because there's all that red in there and it's just not all one color and it's hard to see it. Like,
For me, it's like I said, Evan,
The
it's because
seller
of the
shall
way
pay
it's
the
worded.
following expenses, A, B, and C.
Yeah, as long as we explain it like you that, Evan, this is the seller section and then this is the buyer section. That'll be easier. But yeah, it's just the way it was worded. It sounded weird.
which, yeah, I mean, and obviously you would have to already have had that established buyer's rep agreement, or they're going to be totally confused as to what you're trying to get covered. So
Yeah. Okay. So everybody go on to the TREC website now and comment on this. Where's that piece at? Here you go. You can provide public comment on proposed changes right there at the top. You fill in your name, your email, and your address. Oh. I almost put my maiden name. Y'all don't tell Glenn. Proposed rule 1 to 4. Oh, Alejandra, they put it in Spanish for you, babe.
That's good. I'm gonna look at it.
Email supporting documents. Where do I submit this? I guess I
Lori,
have- Yeah.
I think the only thing that would be easiest, and I don't even know if this is a change that could be possible, is instead of saying in a separate agreement, like if the listing broker and the other broker could just sign this 1 to 4 family and have that serve as not having a separate agreement.
That the lawyers won't do that because the 1 to 4 family contract is an agreement between buyer and seller.
Mhm.
The agents are not a party to the contract.
Okay.
We're just facilitating it. So yeah, that they won't do that. Okay, I submitted mine. Y'all all saw me do it. Nope, I don't want that.
Okay, was there any other contract stuff we were gonna go over? Because I have got to get ready for a appointment, my friends.
I think the only other thing was I wanted to look at what's different on this third-party finance addendum. So I'm just gonna take a gander at it real quick.
Yeah, I'd like to see that actually.
I will share my screen then. You can look at it with me. Nothing on the first page. We still have all the same choices. Buyer approval changed. It says subject to buyer obtaining approval. If buyer cannot obtain approval, buyer may terminate this contract within this many days after the effective date. They capitalize effective date. That was an important change right there, y'all. We can comment. Effective date did not need to be capitalized. I'm just kidding. After the effective date of the contract, by giving seller notice of termination and a copy of the written statement from the lender setting forth the reason for the lender's determination. So it is requiring a letter from the lender for the reason of the termination. If buyer terminates the contract under this provision, the contract will terminate, earnest money refunded. If the buyer does not terminate under 2A, the contract will no longer be subject to the buyer obtaining approval. Okay. Property approval changed. I like the fact that they're requiring the documentation because most of the time I would ask for it anyway. If the buyer's lender determines the property does not satisfy the lender's underwriting requirement, insurability, buyer may terminate this contract on or before the third day before closing date. Okay, so that's if the appraisal doesn't make. All right. All right. Just rewording in the FHA VA thing. But a little bit of rewording here. Okay. I do like that they're requiring that. That's cool. So
Yeah, that's a very important document.
yeah, it is. I mean, it's not fair to the seller to just go, oh, based on the third party and not provide them documentation of that. So I think it's good. Makes it more fair. Yes, yes, yes. Any questions on anything, any more discussion, or anything else that has come up? Tanya, you may be dismissed. Did you leave your comments, Tanya?
No, not yet, because I have to figure out how I'm gonna say that. Because I don't, I mean, I get where, that's what I'm saying. I get where they're putting it now from the explanation, but it's just, I mean, I don't know. It's worded funny to me. And so I got to figure out how to say, I can't just say it's worded funny and, you know, but hey, I'm a professional. So I got to really figure out how to put it.
This is my professional talk.
Yeah. So
You could say it's funny, but it's not ha funny.
that won't get me invited back either. So I got to remember how to do it. So.
Okay. I'm going to be checking in with you to make sure that you respond. My dear.
Sounds good.
Lorrie, so do we still need the agreement between broker and that addendum?
It's 2406 addendum. Currently, yes, because this is up for vote as to whether or not it's going to get accepted on November 4th. So this is a preview of what has been proposed.
Which for the gallery is my birthday, by the way. If you need to know, it's important.
Okay, we needed to know that.
Just so you know.
Okay.
Sweet.
So November 4th is when they'll meet. So yes, I would say we still need the other. We still need 2406.
All joking aside, though, the 2406 is the broker to broker compensation, right? And that's
2406 is the addendum to the contract that outlines the seller's paying this amount toward the
Okay.
buyer's agent fees, the listing broker's paying this amount toward buyer agent fees.
okay. So the 2402 is
Is
the
the
broker to
broker to
broker
broker
compensation.
agreement.
And that one will not go away for the simple
No.
fact that we actually use that in commercial deals.
Well,
So-
no. For the simple fact that we have to use that now to get an agreement as to how much we're going to get paid.
Well, that part too. Unless we put it in
Because
the contract.
MLS is no longer our agreement. So we have to have it.
I gotta go. It's making my head hurt.
It's just a new way of operating, getting the same thing done. That agreement, y'all never saw it. I had to sign it as the broker. Y'all never saw it. Now y'all see it.
Okay, bye y'all.
Bye, good luck.
I have a quick last question. So you mentioned that you heard it, like, let's say on the grapevine, that things may be changing again.
Oh yeah, they will be changing again. That part's not grapevine. They will be
Okay.
changing again.
Okay, how far down the line is that?
We have been told as instructors to expect into the first quarter.
Okay, all right, just to keep.
It's government, the wheels of justice turn slowly. So this change has come in. The broker lawyer committee is still looking at other changes. They just dribbled this small change in immediately. This is how quick they can act immediately.
Okay, I just didn't want to be hit by a landslide or whatever.
When I'm teaching, I've got a contracts class this afternoon actually at Broken Oak for Able.
Really? Oh.
And yeah, in Georgetown. When I'm teaching my contracts class, my 3-hour class, one of the slides that I put in there is the only constant is change. People, we are here in this moment of change for a hot minute. Like, we're going to be here. Things are going to be adjusting regularly. We need to get comfortable being flexible because that's
Oh, I completely agree with that. That's an awesome way to put it. I tell people there's even a Rush song about change.
there is. You're right.
And so
I forgot you were my Rush fan.
Yeah. And
Got in the car the other day. I had my Spotify going, and Glenn was like, "Hey, we've heard 3 Rush songs. Can we move on?" I was like, "We haven't heard the entire album." Fine.
Yeah. So yeah,
the
only constant is change.
So we are here for a minute. This is what our contract looks like. Is proposed to look like in November, the beginning of November. We will see how long that sticks before they send us new proposals. So let's also get comfortable leaving our comments about these changes, right? We're the ones in the trenches using this every day. They want to hear from us so that they can make sure that they get it right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
All right. Thanks for sitting down and looking at it with me, guys. I hope everybody else, Caesar, you're talking a lot. Did you leave your comments?
No, no.
Go leave your comments.
I'll leave some comments or whatever. Yeah.
Go leave your comments. Make sure you guys leave your comments. That's the reason I wanted to do this together today. You've got the link right there. Did everybody grab that link?
I'll pick it up.
Okay. All right.
Did you send the link by email?
I did not send it by. It's in your connections. Did you read your classic connections yesterday? It's in your classic connections.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'll find it.
Yep.
Yep.
And I put it right here. All right. I expect everybody to go in there and comment.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Always
Absolutely. Y'all holler if you need me for anything. Ernest, smile. That's what you're looking like this morning. Call me if you need me. Bye.
Lorrie, I have a quick thing.
Yeah,
I still haven't gotten the broker to broker form back on my lease. Is that concerning, or do you think they just move slow?
have we submitted a contract yet?
My client sent the deposit and signed the lease yesterday.
Will you please send an email again requesting the 2402 be returned, which was sent on whichever date? And if you would like to go in and I followed up on this date, this date, this date, if you want to go into all of that, copy me. Is this other person a broker already?
It's a broker, yeah.
Yeah, copy me on that, please.
Okay, I will do that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Bye.